Welcome. Happy Sunday, everybody. For some reason, I can't even see the chat. Let's switch to a different screen. Give me one sec. All right. If you guys can hear me and see me, let me know in the chat. Oh, cool. TXRT. Welcome. For whatever reason, YouTube says that something went wrong, so I can't see the chat here, but I can definitely see the chat on this screen. So, hey, Corey, welcome. We'll start in 2 minutes. Let me bring up my screen here. There we go. Let me know if you guys can see my screen as well. Hey, welcome, Zach Parker. Well, the other Zach too. There's two Zachs in here. Zach F and Zach M. They can only be one. Hey, Jay. We got a good crowd. Let's get started now. Welcome, everybody. My name is Advent or Desi, depending on where you know me from. Welcome to the Let's Learn with Advent series. For those of you who may be new here, this is essentially just, you can think of it as a free group coaching session. So we'll pretty much go over whatever you want in terms of trading. We can go over strategy, psychology. If you're new to trading, you can ask questions about that too. Pretty much anything, literally whatever you guys want. You can start posting your questions in the chat and I'll get to them. As always, for these free classes that I give you guys, all I ask is for you to hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. So Google's like, cool, people like this. Let's push it out more. And if you aren't already, you could definitely subscribe. I definitely appreciate that as well. But yeah, whenever you guys are ready, post your questions in the chat and we'll go from there. Also, if you are not watching this on YouTube directly, it might not let you hit the like button. So if you do want to hit it, just make sure to be actually on YouTube to do so. Hey, thanks, Corey. Appreciate that. Also, when you ask me questions, please be as specific as you can. So TXRT, you just mentioned SMCI, UNH, and LLY. What do you want me to look at that? Like, are you looking to go long? Are you looking to go short? I need some more information so I can give you my proper analysis on it. Are you looking to go long? Are you looking to go short on it? What are we looking at? Long all three of them. What are my thoughts? Cool. That definitely helps. All right. Let's look at SMCI first. Monthly triggered bearish. Weekly is definitely bearish with a little doji from last week's close. Daily prints at a hammer, and when we have this gap over here as well, let's mark some things out. So this is the big gap. So higher time frame, SMCI is definitely bearish, short-term bullish potentially. Let me mark off the weekly high as well so we can see that on the daily. Weekly bullish reversal. I'm not sure if you're long on this already. If I were to get long on this, I would look for a break of this hammer to the upside. If it gaps up, I'm not going to chase it because, you know, the reward is going to be decreasing, the risk is going to be increased. We'll look at the daily first. So if we open up as an inside bar tomorrow, and I was inclined to take this, depending how long you want to stay in, I would probably get at least a month out for contracts or more. My stop will be under this hammer. First target would be the weekly level right here, this weekly break. How far is this? Oops. 7. Yeah, probably trim some at that weekly level. You can use this as your first target if you want, 47.37. Let me mark that out so we can see it together. Excuse me. So far, that's what I'll be looking at for the daily. And of course, this wicks high over here. Looking at the weekly, for a safer entry would be the weekly break to the upside, and then essentially just having this entire last week's candle as my stop. However, looking at the weekly chart, if I were to look at this in the eyes of the strat, so the strat target is going to be all the way up here at this fib level up here. However, that's pretty far. So what we can do to get some additional targets, I'll just draw my fib level from the big red week's candle, and you could use these fib levels as potential targets. You can look to potentially aim for the 50 fib, give you a decent risk reward. So as we fill that gap, we also have these fib level targets to target. That would be my trading plan if I were to look at this. Because some people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go for the full gap fill. But it's like, if you're up $6 or 6 points, however you look at it, I'm not going to sacrifice 6 points for an extra dollar or $2. I want to take profit as it goes in my favor. So that will be my long idea on SMCI. Hey, new. Not and Carlos. Good questions. TXRT, for the sake of the length of this session and everybody else's question, I'm going to go over UNH next. Well, I'll probably skip this really. My entry was last week. If whoever caught it off the watch list when I told you guys to take this 2-1-2 bullish reversal, whoever did, shout out to you. You made a good amount of money. Somebody messaged me that they put $300 in that trade and they made $13,000. So shout out to them. Anyway, definitely short-term bullish on United Health. They still have all those allegations and all of those things going on, so keep that in mind. The weekly is pretty strong from last week's close. Sure, you could take a continuation to the upside, but just be mindful of this selling area over here that we got. So we might get sold off in this area once we trigger to the upside. So keep that in mind. Daily has a big gap to the downside. I highly doubt it's going to get filled with the news that came out on it, but something to pay attention to. And we close as a doji. So right now, I personally would be just neutral on UNH until a better setup sets up, but that's pretty much what I have for that. All right. Let's get to the, does anyone in the Discord have experience trading futures? What's your question on futures? Kadend or Kadenje? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm just going to call you Kad. Let's see. Not Now said, I'm new to trading. What's the best way to take advantage of stock options? I have a few that are in the green, but I'm not sure if I should keep holding. Great question. So if you are new to trading, not now, I personally would not be using real money, because in your case, you got lucky that those trades are green, but it can go south really fast if you don't know what you're doing. If you're taking signals, that can potentially help you out in the beginning, but you don't really want to start exploring by yourself just yet until you know what you're doing, right? For example, when I first started, I was taking signals from my first mentor, and then from there, I started learning how to trade on my own. So if you're relatively new, I would just start off with the basics. With the same YouTube channel that you're watching now, that we're on right now, if you just search up like beginner or beginner's guide on my channel, you'll find a video that I made. It's pretty much 2 hours long, kind of giving you a crash course on beginning trading. I also have a video in there, not in that same video, but in my YouTube channel, regarding options. There's things like an hour, hour and a half, going over the Greeks and things like that. So you can look into that. And like Corey mentioned, yeah, definitely paper trading. I'm not sure what platform it is that you use, but paper trading is going to help you a lot, because again, with options, if you don't know what you're doing, it can go south extremely fast and you can lose a ton of money. And I'd rather you not experience that. Cool. Also, with your last question about you're not sure if you should keep a holding or not, as I always say, if it's good enough to ask or good enough to take a screenshot of, you should probably start taking some profit. Remember, there will be many, many more trades in the future. So don't ever get caught up with a trade, and don't ever marry one. Let me know if that helped, or if you have any follow-up. Carlos, I have a question. A lot of famous traders say fair value gaps, or FVGs, are horrible to use or unreliable. I've never heard some say using those is a good reason. Well, wait. I've never heard some say using those is a good reason. Wait. Your lack of commas and periods is making my brain blow up. But I'm going to assume that you're saying that you're not profitable yet because you're using fair value gaps, and that famous traders saying that fair value gaps aren't good, if I'm understanding correctly. Gotcha. All right, cool. So fair value gaps in and of themselves, we shouldn't necessarily be trading, right? We want to add more to that aside just a fair value gap, right? For example, let's see. I gotta find. Was there any stock that was bullish on Friday? Maybe even bearish. Let's see if I can find a bearish TTO. A TTO is triangle layout in the strat terms. A TTO is just a pullback in the direction of the trend. So this is a bullish TTO. A pullback and the trend continues to the upside. For a bullish one or a bearish one, it'll look like this. For the bearish ones, I just call them H patterns because they look like the letter H. Anyway, let's see. I guess we can use this one. Not the best example, but we'll just use it for now. So we have a bullish TTO here. We have a bullish trend. We have a pullback and then a reversal back into the trend. And let me mark off this fair value gap here. This little tiny one. All right, so fair value gaps in and of themselves, I don't really teach ICT. I just know of some of the concepts. I only really trade like 2 ICT setups, and that's it. So looking at this trade on Tesla, we have this little tiny fair value gap right there, right? So actually, give me 1 second. Let me bring up YouTube on my other screen so I don't need to keep on breaking my neck on this direction. I just have to mute myself. Have to mute. There we go. All right, now I can see the chat down here. Cool. So this we have a fair value gap right here. Let's just mark that out so we can all see it together. Fair value gap, FVG. Oops. Or short for FVG. So if I'm looking to take this bullish TTO to the upside, I'm going to take the first bullish reversal, which is going to be this one right over here, right? This one to me would have been a loss because my stop loss would have been under this level. However, you can use I do not do this personally. This is just for the sake of this example. So you can use a fair value gap as additional confluence for the trade, right? So if you do want to take a bullish TTO, you can potentially wait until it dips down into a fair value gap and then take the next bullish reversal to the upside. So in this trade's case, once it dipped down and bounced off this fair value gap, cool. My stop loss is going to be under here, and then I'm going to take the bullish reversal after that. So I'm using the fair value gap as additional confluence. I'm not just taking the trade off of the fair value gap in and of itself, right? I only really look at fair value gaps as like a cherry on top, but I never base my entire trade off a fair value gap. Does that make sense? Cool. So fair value gaps into themselves, you do not want to take them by themselves. You also want to add things to it. Jay, a fair value gap is just a gap. So it's a series of 3 candles, and it's the gap in between the first and the third candle. For example, let's look at, so we're going to be looking at these 3 candles right here. These 3 candles, 1, 2, 3. And I'll just mark it off for those people who are better at looking at things visually. So we have these 3 candles. Oh, whoops, where's my 3? There we go. We have these 3 candles in sequence. And in between candle 1 and candle 3, we're looking at the space in between the wicks of candle 1 and 3. So I'm going to get my drawing tool, my rectangle, and I'm going to draw from this wick's high to the low of candle 3's wick. And that's my fair value gap. It's the gap in between the wicks of candle 1 and 3. So there's a fair value gap right here in between these 2 candles on this solid body. And then there's another fair value gap between these 2 candles here. Does that make sense? Cool. For those who are just coming in, welcome. Whatever questions you guys have, please post it in the chat. We can go over whatever you want, whatever struggles you're having, whatever you want to learn about trading. For those who may be new here and don't know about me, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. I've been trading for pretty much 5 years and 1 month now. I've traded basically everything: stocks, options, crypto, futures, Forex, all that good stuff. For a fair value gap, can you, oh, by the way, any questions you guys want to ask, don't ever think there's a stupid question, especially in the business of trading and the stock market. There's nothing such as a stupid question. So don't feel embarrassed. We're all here to learn together. For a fair value gap, do you pick any three candles, or are there specific ones that you should select when looking at a trade? Well, fair value gap, it doesn't matter where it is. In the sense of trade related, like for a setup, that really depends on the individual and what they're looking at. But there's a bunch of fair value gaps here. We have a fair value gap that I just showed you guys there. There's another one that we have here. There's another little tiny one right down here. There's a bearish one, little tiny one right here. And there's probably a bunch more. There's a little tiny one right over here. So there's fair value gaps everywhere. It really just depends on what you're looking for and what you're looking to take in regards to your specific setup. Marcus asked, do timeframes really matter? I've heard from many traders that it does or it does not. What are your thoughts? I believe timeframes definitely do matter because the different timeframes are going to do several things for you, right? They're going to tell you whether we're bullish, if we're overall bearish, things like that, right? For example, here's a common mistake that I see a lot of people doing with the strat when they first learn it. Let's go to good old YM. Let's go to the electronic trading hours. I'm in this trade right now with another one of my students. We're aiming for this up here as our first target, and then this is another target for this W setup. Let's hope we don't get sold off because that would be annoying. Anyway, so the daily, the Friday closed the failed two up, so we closed as a red daily. The weekly closed bullish last week, right? The 4 hour currently is an inside bar, that's green. The 1 hour is currently bullish, but we're getting some sell pressure right now, so we got to see how this closes. But what I see new traders do to the strat is they'll go to like the 1 minute chart and they'll be like, cool, let me take this 2-on-2 reversal, bearish reversal, and they'll go against the trend, right? Where it's like you're using all this brain power and all these poor setups going against the trend, where you could just be looking at a higher time frame to, one, be with the trend and just make it easier for yourself, right? So I would definitely say that time frames matter, especially in understanding what works best for you. Like I know people who like the 1 minute and it works for them. For me, the 1 minute doesn't really do much for me because it's just too much noise and too much going on, which I don't personally like. I know people who only trade on the 4 hour and the daily time frame, or even the weekly. If they mainly swing trade and stuff like that. But overall, time frames do matter. I'm not sure who's saying that they don't matter. That to me is ridiculous. I would definitely love to hear why they're saying that, maybe so I can understand. But as a blanket statement that time frames don't matter, I don't know about that one. And I'll see it a lot in some Discord groups that I'm in. People be buying puts on SPY, but we're super bullish. It's like, why are you buying puts? Oh yeah, there was a reversal on the 1 minute. Or well, it's overextended with RSI. I'm like, who cares about RSI? If the chart is saying go long, then I'll go long, right? Don't fight the trend. Has some examples. What are the questions you guys got for me? Welcome for those who are coming in. Any questions that you have, please post it in the chat. Any question is fine, whether it's beginner things, advanced things, anything is welcome. Can I dive into risk management? I've passed plenty of eval challenges, but never got a payout. Yeah, we can definitely go into risk management. To get better insight so I can answer your question the best, what specifically is going on when you pass your challenges and you get on the funded account? Do you size even bigger? Do you revenge trade? Like what exactly? Great question, Sam. I'll answer that in a bit. You as well, Jay. Let me get Carlos's risk management question out of the way. So give me some idea of what's going on once you pass the challenge and why you're not getting a payout. Because if you're passing a challenge, you should definitely be getting a payout unless you're over leveraging. Gotcha. So if you're using, let's say, 5 micros on your eval and then you're using 10 micros on your prop account, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot, right? You're switching up the plan that got you funded to begin with. So if you're using 5 micros to pass, you should continue to use 5 micros from there. Because the irony about using a bigger size is that your brain is like, well, if I double my size, then that means I am going to pass this faster, or I'm going to get my payout faster. However, it's actually the opposite that tends to happen. What tends to happen is that we actually lose or blow the accounts, which actually makes it take even longer for us to get a payout or get paid from our personal accounts, whatever it may be, right? So risk management is always going to be key, and you should always be focusing on that, always, right? Regardless of whatever you want. Remember, the market doesn't care about what you want. It doesn't care about what I want. It doesn't care about what anybody wants. The market is going to do whatever the market's going to do, right? On top of that, remember that trading is all about probability. So sure, you can size up higher. I wouldn't do it. But if you're on a winning streak, let's say you win 5 trades in a row and you happen to pass your eval challenge. That doesn't mean you're going to win the next 5 trades in a row if the market doesn't want you to, or not you specifically, but just in general. Because again, it's all probability based, right? What if you size up so much that you lose your account in 3 trades? It just happened to be losing trades, right? So we mainly just have to survive, those moments of losing trades and things like that, because oversizing is definitely not going to get you where you want to be. So let's go over some examples. What size of account do you have so I can give you some better insight as well in terms of sizing, at least what I would do anyway. Hey, Isaiah, welcome. $25K account will take profit. Let me bring them up real quick. I think the drawdown is like 1,500 or 1,200 or 1,250. The drawdown is 1,500. All right, cool. Let's bring this up on the chart. So 25K account, target is 1,500, drawdown is 1,500. So psychologically, you always want to look at prop firms is that you don't actually have a 25K account. You actually have a $1,500 account, right? So you want to size accordingly to that. A general rule of thumb is 1 micro per $500 that you have in the account. So in this case, the account is $1,500 because we're really trading our drawdown. So, excuse me. So I would probably be using 3 micros, at the most, maybe 4 micros until I pass. And then once I pass, I'm still going to be using 3 micros until I get enough money so I can withdraw my money or, get a payout or whatever, right? And then once you get your payout, I would still use 3 micros until I build up a nice buffer. So let's say you get your payout. After I get my payout, my next goal for this account is going to get the funded account to 27.5K. The reason being is once you hit 26.5K, your drawdown stays at 25K. So if you go under that, you will blow the account, but you can go up, down, doesn't matter how much you make. Above that, the blown price would always be 25K. So yeah, you're not allowed to go more than 3 contracts. Let me bring up the chart real quick. Let me put this screenshot so we can all see it. Wait, where'd this thing go? Hold on, I'm going to post this in Discord real quick so I can just copy it in the... There we go. Are you using mini contracts or are you using micro contracts? Because you're limited to 3 minis, but you can use 30 micros, and every 10 micros is 1 mini. I'm talking about using 3 micros, not 3 minis. If you're using 3 minis on a 25K account, that's crazy. Yeah, definitely do not use minis on a 25K account. Use micros. I would use 3 to 4 micros maximum for this account size because minis is crazy. Anyway, now that we have that out of the way, your drawdown is 1,500, and you can tackle this in whatever way you want. Some trades you can maybe use 5, or you can maybe use 3, sometimes even 8 or 10, whatever it may be. I like to look at it as, for this account, I would probably risk 150 to 200 every trade, right? So that gives me between 7 to 10 losing trades in a row before my account is cooked, right? Generally, I tend to win a lot more than I lose for my trades. So I would be comfortable with risking 150 to 200. So I'm either going to pass the account in 5 to 10 trades, depending how good the risk reward is for that specific setup, or maybe I'll lose, who knows. However, this gives me some leeway, right? So I have 7 to 10 losing trades in a row before the account is done. So yeah, Jay, whenever you come back, let me know, and then I'll get to your question. So I would risk 150 to 200 on this account type, basically risking 7 to 10% of the drawdown on each trade. I'm comfortable with that personally. Sam, more that I win a lot more, so my win rate is higher, and then I make more than when I lose, right? Does that make sense, Carlos? How to size in and manage your risk for that account type? Cool. And remember, I get it. Everybody wants to get paid out. Everybody wants to make a lot of money, X, Y, and Z. Patience is going to be your biggest tool when it comes to trading, right? I've been doing this for 5 years. It gets monotonous. Literally, you get on, wait for your setup, cool, your setup, press the button, and you wait even more until something happens. For example, I'm in this trade right now, this W on the 1 hour on YM. It's either going to win or it's going to lose. Pretty much been here for almost 3 hours now, and it got a little close to halfway to target. My first target is about 100 points from the entry all the way down here at 0.50. So if this trade loses, I'm going to be losing about 300, about with commission, about 305, $300 on this trade. If this trade hits my first target, I'm going to be making around 250 when I take some position off. And then if it hits my other target up here at 200 to 211, I'm going to leave with roughly 650 to 750 on that trade. So there's nothing else for me to do besides just wait on this trade, right? I can stare at the screen for 4 hours and burn my eyeballs out, or I can go do something else, which is what I've been doing before I got here with you guys. I'm already in the trade. There's literally nothing else for me to do but wait. And I find a lot of traders, patience is definitely challenging for them because they want everything quick. And you have to understand that the market patience is really going to shine here, right? So take your time. You'll get the results that you want, X, Y, and Z. Am I going to move the stop loss to break even or just leave it? So right now I'm up $235 on this trade. I could take it off right now and enjoy my $235 in about 2 hours and a half of waiting. That's a good return on time, right? But I'm only going to move my stop loss once it hits the first target. I already have my alert at this target. So once it hits the target, then I'll take some off and then I'll move my stop to break even. So if it does pull back, I still leave with a winning position. So right now, there's nothing for me to do but wait. It's either going to be a winner or it's going to be a loser. Now, most people will be like, or some people will be like, hey, just take your $200 and just go about your day. I could do that, but this is one of my best setups. So if it does work out, I'm going to be sitting real nice. If it doesn't, it is what it is. There'll be more setup to take, so it's all good. All right, let's see. Sam, you said, what matters more? What the higher time frame is saying versus the lower, or is it quantity? For example, 6 to 10 time frames are bullish, so it's bullish right now. Yes and no, right? Like this specific setup, the W setup that I took, this is a counter trend trade, right? Because we can see we're clearly on a bearish trend. However, we printed a higher low, so I'm taking the first bullish reversal back into a potential reversal of the trend, right? So the way I like to see it is if I'm day trading and I'm looking to get into a bullish setup or a bullish trend setup, I'm going to be looking for at least the daily and the 4 hour and the 1 hour to be in my favor, right? So if I'm going to take a bullish trend setup, I'm going to be looking for the daily, 4 hour, and 1 hour to be in my favor. If I'm going to be looking for a bearish setup, pretty much the opposite, right? Now, again, if it's going to be a counter trend trade like this one that I'm taking now, I don't really care about if we're mainly bullish or not because I know that I'm going against the trend for this specific trade. However, this specific trade will get me into the bullish trend early if it does work out, which it usually does. So, Neri, this ticker is YM. It's the Dow Jones Industrial Futures. If you're using Thinkorswim, you got to put /YM. If you're on TradingView, just type in YM. It'll say like YM, one exclamation, stuff like that. So Sam, what I would say is, I'm not sure how you trade, or whoever might have some issues with going into the trend, get very clear on what your specific setups are and where they shine. Like, if you take a long, take note and journal, what were the time frames doing? When you took that trade, were the daily 4 hour and 1 hour in your favor, or were they not in your favor? And then you lost. That way you can get clear on how to refine your setups and take the best ones, right? Let's see. Right now, I just want the 30-minute same trend, but I guess I need to look at higher time frames as well. Yeah, what I would say, Sam, so when I'm trading, this is how my setup looks. I don't really trade Asia session how I am now. Just me and my student saw the setup, so decided to take it now. So let's see, what am I looking for? So this is how my setup looks. When I'm trading New York session, let me get the 4 hour here. Delete this stuff real quick. 4 hour level. So when I'm trading the New York session, this is how I have my chart. I have the 4 hour labeled out, so I don't need to switch my time frame to the 4 hour. I could just see it based on the levels that I have there. And essentially, I'm looking at these 4 time frames because I have setups that print on each individual time frame. So if I'm on the, let's say if this triggers, if the price is above this 4 hour level, I already know that the 4 hour is bullish, right? So I don't really need to worry about, oh, let me go on the 4 hour and see what's going on there. You could also mark off the daily high if that helps you. So this is how I have my setup: 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, and 1 hour. That way I can kind of see the bigger picture, right? I can see what the time frames are doing, so I can make a better decision depending on whatever setup that I'm looking for and go from there. Because if you're just looking at one time frame, you're kind of stuck, right? You're not really seeing the whole picture. Because people be like, oh, yeah, I was in the 5 minute. I completely forgot to look at the 1 hour or the 4 hour. But it's like we've basically just been chopping for a while. So I like to just have the bigger picture to see what's going on and just mark some levels out to help out. Marcus asked, for futures, is it true that after 10 a.m. the volume decreases significantly and it's harder to trade, specifically for like MES? Yes and no. The first 30 minutes, I'll say the first 15 minutes are going to be the most volatile because, the New York market open and it's still overlapping with the London session. So there's going to be a lot of volume during that first like 30 minutes. And then from there, it'll slow down a bit because London is closing and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say that it's harder to trade because I do have some setups that's set up between 10 a.m. to like 12 noon. So I wouldn't really say that it's harder to trade, in my opinion and my experience. It really depends on the type of strategy that person may be using and that they use. But I don't really have any issue with that. The biggest thing you want to look for is if you have a big event that week, right? Like, for example, let me bring up this calendar real quick. So last week we had CPI data on Tuesday. I was expecting the volume on Monday to be low because big money is really going to be wanting to wait and see what happens with the inflation data before they either offload positions or get bigger positions added on. So depending on what's happening on an economical standpoint, you can potentially get some chop in the morning or even that whole day until big news comes out, if that makes sense. For those who are coming in, welcome. Whatever questions you want to ask me trading related, put it in the chat and we'll go over it. Hey, no problem. All right, Jay, let me bring up your question. I forgot that you came back. What are my thoughts on Tesla and NVIDIA? You own shares in both, and you notice that both have been falling. What are your thoughts? Let's check out NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA is basically at near all-time highs. I'm not sure where you're looking at that NVIDIA is falling. Like NVIDIA's pretty much been a rocket since like June. We might reverse this week with this failed two up. Everything is super bullish on NVIDIA. I'm not sure what price you got in on your shares. The smaller time frame. Well, yeah, the smaller time frames are always going to go down. That's just the nature of the market. Right? The 4 hour is going to be reversing, but the daily failed two down. The weekly failed two up. Yeah, like if you're looking at a 1 hour, yeah, we're going to be going down. You got to look at the bigger picture. We're pretty bullish on NVIDIA. I'm not sure what your average is. If you are a little nervous, you can always take some profit if you want. Let's look at Tesla. That's not how you spell Tesla. Good old Rob Smith, rest in peace. All right, Tesla. Failed to up on the week. Little. Yeah, so Rob Smith, the creator of Tesla, not the creator of Tesla, the creator of the Strat, every time he would bring up Tesla, he would be like, all right, let's look at Tesla. So that like always stuck with me. So every time I bring up Tesla, I always just say Tesla in my head. Anyway, so failed two up on the week on Tesla. We might get a nice pullback to this 50 fib at 320. We've been reversing since Wednesday. Yeah, I'm thinking probably short-term pullback on Tesla to the 320, 310 area. But we kind of just been like in this range. We're kind of like tightening up. For you trend line drawers, what's that, like a wedge or a bull flag? I guess a bull flag. Yeah, and with Tesla, it's like I consider Tesla like its own entity because it can really be detached from the market in its entirety, right? So I'm definitely thinking short-term bearish. I only really trade Tesla on like Wednesday through Friday because the contracts are cheaper. I usually just watch it Monday, Tuesday. Unless the setup is like top tier on Monday or Tuesday, then I'll probably trade it on those days. But I'm usually trading it Wednesday through Friday, and I do not swing Tesla at all either. So we'll definitely see what we have for tomorrow. I'm probably just going to watch tomorrow anyway. We don't really have any news events No news Monday and no news Tuesday. So I'll probably be a little defensive the first 2 days and go from there. Tesla options cooked. Yeah, whoever swings Tesla options, shout out to you. I don't have the heart for it. I can only day trade Tesla. I like to be in and out and go about my day. Can I check your question above? Let me go back up, Corey. Oh, can you go long and short on individual stocks like futures, or are you referring to options, calls, puts in reference to long and short? Fantastic question, Corey. Yes, you can 100% go long and short on regular stock. For example, if I buy Tesla shares, I'm going long on Tesla. Now, something to note, you cannot go both long and short shares on a stock. It's one or the other. You're either short the shares or you're long the shares. So you just need to enable margin in order to short shares. When I first started trading, I got introduced to trading penny stocks. So we basically just, went long or bought shares, or we went short and sold them. When I discovered futures, I'm like, oh my God, this is like just going long or short on regular shares with no theta and no options or expirations like futures. Like options. So futures was like a refresher to when I first started trading. Me and you both. Definitely great. Can have a negative emotional impact. Yeah, depending, if you're oversizing, and revenge trading could definitely be negative. One thing that's challenging but will help a lot is being okay with losing and experiencing the losses and the process and all those other things, because as I mentioned earlier, with patience, right? And if you remove your expectations from what you think the market should be giving you, it'll make your mental energy and your mental health a lot better when it comes to trading. Because for those who don't know, like, I mainly started this YouTube channel for the psychology portion of trading, which I have a whole section on if you check out the playlist section. But people are like, hey, teach us how to trade too, which is why I mainly do this as well, and teach people how to trade. But anyway, if you really spend some time and think about things trading wise and why we do things, it'll make it a lot clearer on why you do certain things, right? For example, winning a trade or losing a trade shouldn't really give you an emotional response, right? It's only what the trade means to us that is giving us that response, right? For example, if I get into a trade and I'm willing to risk $300 before I even get into the trade, I'm already relaxed in my mind because I already know that, cool, if I get into this trade, I am putting $300 on the line to see if I can make 500, 1,000, whatever it may be, right? So if I lose, I'm chilling. Cool. I expected to lose $300 if it went against me. It is what it is. Now let's flip it. Let's say you're somebody who doesn't have that much money in their account. You have $1,000 in your account and you're trading with rent money that you should never, ever, ever do. If they lose those $300 on that trade, that's going to have a way bigger emotional impact on them as opposed to somebody else that's just risking what they can afford to lose on a trade, right? Some other examples that we can mention is when people are just trying to make money now, or they're just getting so impatient because they had months of like improper results that they didn't get that they wanted. Then they get impatient and then they lose a trade. Then they get upset and then they revenge trade, or they over leverage to make that money back, and so on and so forth. And then they get stuck in that downward spiral, which is dangerous, right? So it's good to understand and know yourself so you can really release yourself from a lot of the mental challenges that come with trading. I'll give you guys an example. I think it was either earlier this year or sometime last year. I had a family member who bought something that was extremely expensive. And I was like, cool, let me help him out. So I'm like, let me make some money trading and give him some of those profits. And what happened to me that hasn't happened in a really long time is that when I lost a trade, I actually got like overly annoyed. Of course, I still gonna get annoyed if I lose trades. It is what it is, right? We're human. We can't escape that. But this trade overly got me annoyed, where I had like this burning desire to like revenge trade and get that money back. And I'm like, why am I so emotionally charged by this trade? Like, I lose at least a few times a week. This is normal, right? So it wasn't until I brought that back in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, this trade annoyed me because I lost, because I wanted to make money on this trade to give money to this person. But again, as I mentioned in the beginning, the market doesn't care about what we want, doesn't care about what you want in your life, what you want to do, none of that. It's just going to do whatever it does. So once I like stopped having that in my head, then I could just take losses normally. It's like, all right, cool, I lost. It is what it is. Let's wait for the next one, right? So having no expectations, or having no like, what's the word? Having no deadline for what it is that you want can also help as well. I remember there was this one guy a long time ago, I think like 3 years ago, when I first started coaching people. He came to me and he was like, hey, my job is going to let me go in 2 months. I want to start trading full time by the time they let me go. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to be honest with you. Realistically, you're not going to be ready to trade full time in 2 months. It is highly unlikely that you're going to be prepared for that, especially in 2 months. Even if we knock everything out and we work every single day, you're not going to be ready to be a full-time trader in 2 months, in my experience, and with the people that I worked with and all the other traders and stuff like that. And he was like, nah, I think I can do it. Long story short, he is not a full-time trader. So I'll just keep that there. So remember, all these expectations and all these things that we want in life, the market does not care in the slightest. So always have proper expectations and all of that good stuff. It took me 2.5 years to trade full time. And that was after having like 6 mentors, right? And for those who may want to trade full time, I'll give you the way that I did it. I'm a lot more conservative than most people, or at least that I know anyway. I saved up at least a year of expenses, and I only left my job once I was able to make more than my job on a weekly basis, right? So I had a year worth of expenses, and then I grew my trading account to about 40, 50,000. So I can use that money to grow the account more and not have to dip into like savings money to pay stuff, right? And have that stress. Because some people will like have a year of expenses, but they'll just have like 5,000 in their trading account. I'm like, that's not really sustainable to make the returns dollar wise that you'll need to, pay your bills as well as grow your account and then pay your taxes and all that other good stuff. So I pretty much saved a full year of expenses, got my account to 40, 50K. And then from there, once I started making more than I did in my regular job on a week-to-week basis, I'm like, cool, it's finally time. I quit, and here I am. I will tell you though, that first month quitting my job was freaking terrifying because I basically quit my job, we're 2025 and 2022, so 3 years ago. I'm 34 now, so I quit my job when I was 31, and I've basically been working since I was like 16, so pretty much working for almost half my life at the time. And then it's like, now I have no job. And then it's like, now I have no boss. Like, hey, where are you? You're late for work or whatever. I was never really late for work. But anyway, being a full-time trader, you are your own boss. You make your own schedule. And then you also have to, as I mentioned, make a proper schedule, right? Because I only trade 2.5 hours a day, right? If it's a really good day, I'm done in an hour, maybe even less. And then I just have all this free time. It's like, what do you do? Right? So if you have a family, you'll probably be better off because I don't. My friend that him and I quit to trade full time, he has a family. So he just hangs out with them when he's done trading. So I have a few hobbies. I picked up judo recently, which I freaking love. But yeah, just some things for those who may want to be full-time traders in the future. Just keep that in mind. Also, health insurance is expensive if you don't have a job. And if you have a family, that can definitely be expensive. I realized that I just been on like a 10-minute tangent. Whatever questions you guys have that you guys want me to answer, anything trading related or really anything related, put it in the chat. Move to Canada for health insurance. Oh yeah, free health insurance in Canada. That would be nice. Puerto Rico doesn't have capital gain tax, but I have to live there and get citizenship. I think I have to live there like 6 or 8 months out of the year, which would be real nice. Although I do like living close to my dad down here in Florida, so we'll see. Do I have a daily goal to hit? So dollar amounts, I usually aim anywhere between 500 to 750 a day to hit. Now, of course, I use that as kind of like a guideline on when to stop. Like if I hit 750 or 500 in 30 minutes, I'm shutting everything down. I'm going about my business, right? Now, I don't aim to always hit 500 or 750 because I can't control that, right? Only the market does. So let's say if I take one trade and I make 300 bucks and I have, let's say I have an hour left to go in the trading session. If nothing happens in the next hour, then it is what it is, right? I'm just going to get off at 12 noon, go about my day. Cool, I made $300 of pressing buttons, being comfy. You never want to go into the trading day with a certainty-based mindset in the sense of I'm going to make $500 today, because then you're going to make mistakes. Some of you have heard this already, that I've said it before, but let's say my goal is 500 a day, and I'm like, today I'm going to make $500. That is a certainty-based statement. Again, we don't control the market. The market does its own thing. We can only take whatever it gives us. If you're at $300 and you're like, I have an hour left, but I want to make 500, you might take stupid trades to hit this dollar goal that you have, right? What might happen if you do that? You'll get in the trade and then you'll lose that trade. Now you're at $200 and you're like, damn, I was at 300. I took the stupid trade. Now I'm at 200, but now I want to get back to 300. And then you take then you take another dumb trade, and now you're down to 100. And then now you get into the revenge trading spiral, trying to get your money back. And now you even end negative on the day. So I always like to say, just take whatever the market gives you. If it gives you 300 bucks, go take it $300. There's people who work their asses off to make $300 for probably 8 hours or more. And we're making that in 2-3 hours. You got to be grateful for that, right? Some days you'll do absolutely fantastic. Some days you won't. I had a day last week, or was it last week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago? I made like $50, and that's all the market gave me. I took a winning trade, then I took a losing trade, and then I went back to $50, and that's all I made that day. It is what it is. Can't be mad at that. Sure, it would have been nice to leave with my $400, but it is what it is. So, I always just use the dollar amount that you want as a guide on when to stop. Like I said, if I hit 500 in my first trade, 30 minutes, I'm shutting it down for the day. I'm going to do something else. One last thing that I'll mention by these daily dollar goals is start small, right? People try to go for home runs, right? So for example, if you're making $180 at your job right now, just start slow. Try to, depending on your setups and stuff, try to make 25 to $50 a day if you can manage that, depending on your account size. And then once you can consistently do that and you grow your account, if your account allows it, try to make $50 to $100 a day. And then slowly do that so you can continue increasing your account size as you continue. And then once you make as much as you do with your regular job, you can continue doing that too. Because if, let's say, you make $180 a day, let's just say you make after taxes $30,000 a year. If you're making 180 or more, you're pretty much doubling your income every year. That's pretty good if you ask me. And then as your trading account continues to grow, you'll make even more than that, right? So how do you personally handle sizing up in your personal account? What's your strategy there? Great question. Let's go over it. Where's my chart? So the way I like to do it is my personal account is I use, 5 to 10% of my account every trade, depending on what the setup is. For swing trades, I'm usually using 5 to 7%. For day trades, I'm usually using 7 to 10% of my account per trade. I'll reduce that size depending if it's like 0 DTE on Fridays and things like that. But for the most part, I use 5 to 10% of my account. Now, let's just say I have a $10,000 account and I use per trade. So this is going to equate to $500 to $1,000 per trade. And I don't want to lose more than 3% maximum of my account, which is going to equate to $300 max per trade as a loss. Now, I like using the percentage system because it's easy to follow and easy to track. So if I'm just using this amount and I'm slowly growing my account, once I get to 11,000, now I can use, what will that be? My math is probably going to be off here, but let's say, like 550 to 1,100 a trade now, right? And then as I continue to grow the account, so are my position sizes. So mentally, I'm ready, or I'm training myself to see the bigger numbers on the winning side and the losing side. I'll bring up the story because I'd rather you guys know this before it happens to you. Is I made the mistake on focusing on the money when I was first starting trading. I went from $4,000 to $48,000, and I never took any money out. I was like, cool. Once I hit 50,000, then I'll take money out. I was so caught up in the 50,000 mark that I shredded about $15,000. I went from 48.8K all the way down to like 34,000. And I was, at the time, I was using $1,000 position sizes that whole time until I got to like 48,000. My position size was less when it was like under 10,000, but above 10,000, I was using like $1,000 each trade. Now, my mistake was I was like, well, if I'm making all this money using only 1,000, let me just use more money. Then I can get to my 50,000 and more, even quicker. I went from 1,000 to $4,000 and change, and that's been my biggest loss till to this day. I use on that specific trade, I used $4,400, and I ended up exiting out of that position at negative $4,300, and that was just a spiral for the next 5 months that I lost a bunch of money, and that messed me up mentally. So all that to say is using the percentage method, because I wasn't ready to see the big loss amounts using $4,000 position sizes. So I didn't even cut my trade at my stop loss because I didn't want to stomach a $500 loss because I wasn't used to that emotionally. And what happens? I was stubborn, got caught in being silly, and I lost $4,300 when I could have just lost $500 and kept it moving. So going back to this will slowly get you used to the bigger numbers on the winning side and the losing side as you continue to grow your account. So that's how I like to do it. Yeah, this is more so for options, uh, Luckner. For futures, it's a little different. You can use the same concept if you want. Um, I'm a little more aggressive for futures because I don't really have a big futures account. The max I keep my futures account is about 10,000. Then I just kind of recycle from there back to 5,000. And then once I get back to 10,000, then I go back to 5,000. Because realistically, it's like I'm not going to be putting 5 mini contracts on a trade. Thankfully, Brown is not here to give me crap for it. He's going to tell me to grow up and use proper size, or use bigger size anyway, since I should be doing it. I'll probably do that after September or the beginning of next year. I'll just use $10,000 as my base for future, and then just reset every time I get to 15 or 20,000. For those who don't know, Brown Strat King is one of my mentors. Shout out to him. He definitely helped a ton. All right, I've been rambling for like 20 minutes. I'll take questions for 10 more minutes, and then we'll wrap up and go enjoy the rest of our Sundays. Corky, I just accepted your friend request. So whatever questions you guys got, put it in the chat. Let's talk about it. Whatever you guys want. Okay, so on shorts on individual stocks, pretty much it would be puts. Like, so options is puts, you make money when it goes down, and you're shorting the stock, the individual stock, to make money when it'll be going down. Yeah, exactly. Yep, you got it right, Corey. Is there any books I would recommend for psychology or trading? Absolutely. In my opinion, these two books are fantastic. We got The Best Loser Wins, and we have The Mental Game of Trading by Jared Tendler. This book here, Best Loser Wins, is by Tom Hogard. Definitely a game changer. People come to trading to win, but you have to be a really good loser to survive the game, because if not, you're going to be in a world of trouble. So these two books are fantastic. Highly recommend them. If you guys do want links to them, I'll probably post it in the chat and in the description in this video. I have I made a collection here somewhere. There we go. Oh, whoops. Wrong account. That's me. Well, I guess that'll work for now. Actually, maybe I can do this. I guess links don't work. Anyway, I'll post there's a Google Doc that I'm going to post in the description of this video. It'll have the link. Wonder if I can find it. Anyway, what about using prop firms in 2 steps? Seed account to payout and buy large account. Too many just go to large account and income. Born, if the question is if you should be using like prop firms to fund your own account, you can definitely do that. If you're good at prop firms, a lot of people get kind of stuck in that cycle of like blowing accounts and stuff like that, X, Y, and Z. So that's what I do as well. I would like fund, well, I've already kind of passed that point, but I would use the prop firm money to fund my personal accounts. I've mainly just been using it to like grow my dividend portfolio a lot faster than just trading like options and stuff like that. So definitely use prop accounts to fund your own ones. Cool. What else you guys got? I definitely have not seen that channel. Definitely send that over if you can. That psychology channel you mentioned. What was your day job before trading? I used to be in sales. I used to work at AT&T. Hated that place. And I will never do that again. So before trading, I did not know anything finance related, like at all. What got me into trading originally, I would say the first thing I ever did trading wise was in 2017 with crypto. I got some of my friends into it, and then we lost a lot of money, and then we just didn't do anything trading related for like the next 3 years. And then COVID happened. My buddy called me. He's like, "Hey, buy Boeing stock." I'm like, "All right, how do I even do that?" He put me on Robinhood. I bought some Boeing stock, doubled my money in basically a week. And I'm like, this is the stock market? Like, why have I not been doing this my whole life? And then I decided to put more money into the stock market, lost like half of it. And I'm like, all right, I can clearly make money here. I just need to learn how to do it. And then my other buddy, I guess we lucked out and we found our first mentor, and he taught us a lot. And then from there, I just did like a lot of like self-study. I pretty much spent hours like every single day for months straight, just researching as much as I could on the stock market, trading, all of that good stuff. And then I met more mentors who taught me a lot more strategy wise and things like that. I was lucky enough in my trading journey where I had all good mentors. I've heard like bad stories, especially people on the internet, where they have ran into like scammers and things like that, which is unfortunate, right? I just got lucky, thankfully. My first mentor was some random dude on Discord that my buddy found. He made us a lot of money. Shout out to him, wherever he's at right now. Uh, my second mentor, funny enough, so when I was still working at my old job, I would fix computers on the side. And I remember like 2015, 2016, around there, I had this one client who he wanted me to fix his computer. He was like, hey, man, I need to fix his computer. Me and my friends trade X, Y, and Z. And I didn't know anything trading related at the time. And from there, when I got back into trading, I'm like, man, wasn't there that one client that he said that he traded? So I literally spent like 3 days going through my phone and all my text messages and all my emails looking for that conversation that I had with him. And then I found him and I was like, yo, this is the X, Y, and Z. I fixed your computer a few years back. Didn't you say that you traded? And he's like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, cool. Can you be my mentor? And he's like, yeah, definitely. So he would come over to my house. He would teach me about a lot about like option spreads and things like that. So I definitely got lucky again with like the mentors and things like that. And then um, the last few mentors that I had that taught me the strat and a lot of the things that I know now was a few months before I quit my job. Crazy how life works, right? So I was walking to the train station. I used to live in New York. I was walking to the train station and I ran into a buddy that I did not see since like middle school. It's probably like at that time, shit, maybe like 15, 16 years. Well, I haven't seen him maybe in like 10 years because he would like come visit the neighborhood, see his parents here and there. So I was walking the station, I ran into him, and he's like, we were like catching up, like, yo, what you been up to, this and this and that. And I told him that I was into trading. And he was like, hey, man, I know this guy who made like 200, like over 100K on NVIDIA. He's selling his course for $30. And it comes with his Discord access. And I'm like, cool, $30. Why not? And then that's where I met all my strat mentors. And that's been the best $30 I've ever invested in my entire life because I've made a ridiculous amount of money from what they've all taught me. So shout out to having mentors. If you don't have one, definitely get one. I'm not saying you should hit me up to be your mentor, but if you want, I'm definitely available. Or whoever else you think you may want to be your mentor, message them. It'll definitely help. Stay strapped with the strat. 100%. Stay strapped with the strat. It's hilarious. Look, I just saw your question. What would be a good time to get into options? It's really personal preference. You can start now if you wanted. I like having both. Like usually new traders who come to me, I take them through the futures route first because it's just price action. There's no like all the additional things. But I do enjoy options because I can swing trade it, right? And if nothing's happening futures wise, I still have options as a backup and vice versa. So it really depends if you can juggle two things at the same time, right? Like I'll have one chart up. Well, you'll see like sometimes when I'm live trading with you guys, I'll have Tesla on the top left of the chart, and then I'll have YM or whatever futures I'm trading on these three. So that definitely helps. The biggest thing is just learning the concepts of like options and how it correlates to the stock and stuff like that. Excuse me. Do you have any favorite strat combos? I've been paper trading 2-2 rev strats for the past 2 weeks with an 81% win rate, and I intend to actually trade this week. So yeah, I personally love reversal setups. I don't have any particular ones that I prefer over the other. It's really just whatever the reversal setup is going to be, right? For example, on this 1 hour setup on YM, as we have here, I'm taking my W setup, double bottom, with a higher low. I'm taking the first bullish reversal to the upside, which is right here. And this just happens to be a 2 down, 2 up bullish reversal, right? If this was a 2-1, I would have taken this as well. For example, let's look at the 30-minute. The 30-minute had a 2-1-2 bullish reversal, right? This could have been a 3 up candle. This could have been a hammer, 2 down, then a 2 up reversal. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just using the strat to get into this specific setup, whatever that may be. Now, in your case, I'm not sure if you journal or not, but definitely journal and do some more research on, do you just take any reversals? Is it off key levels, broadening formations, things like that, just so you can get clear on what specific 2-2 reversals that you prefer and on what time frames. Definitely glad it's been working out for you. Keep it up. Also, one thing that I want to touch up on, because somebody asked me this question the other day. So I was talking to this new student, and he's like, hey, I don't know anything about trading. Like, do I need to have like some background in finance or anything like that? And like I mentioned, you definitely don't. I didn't have any. Literally all I did before I started trading was photography, music, and sales. And that's it. Didn't know anything money related or finance related. And here I am. So if you don't know anything, don't get discouraged. Because again, I didn't know anything. Just really spend the time to study as much as you can. Don't burn yourself out because you still want to, enjoy life. But it's really just studying. What do you think about owning XXRP shares? I have no idea what XXRP is. Let's find out. Listed Funds Trust. So it's long XRP. Interesting. Oh, nice. It's forming a weird looking W on the daily time frame. Cool. Anyway, let's see. Luck, this specific W trade that I'm in right now, King Louis let me know about it, and then we just got on at 6 earlier today and we took it together. I usually don't look at these setups for like Asia. I just want to enjoy my afternoon. So I haven't done this in a really long time until he brought it up. To answer your question, Corey, so I've never traded like to sell covered calls on a leveraged fund, so I can't really give you insight on that. If I was enticed to do so, I think there's like XRPI. This one pays dividends. I think it came out in May. So this one tracks XRP and it pays dividends, I think, every month. The dividend isn't anything crazy, but it's pretty much like a 1-to-1 that it follows XRP for the most part. And you can potentially look into that if you want. That way you can get money from the shares as well as the covered calls. I don't know if they sell options on it or not. You got to check that out. But I sell options as well, but I kind of use the same strategy that I use now, right? So like I'm going to be swing trading, selling covered calls. So if we get a 2-1-2 down, bearish reversal, I'm going to sell calls once it breaks that low as a strat setup. I don't kind of just buy 100 shares and then just sell call immediately. I still use like strategy for it. It just works for me anyway. Cool. All right, we are 30 minutes over, and I want to enjoy the last bits of my night. Before we wrap up, what was everybody's biggest takeaway from today's session? What was something that you learned? Definitely put it in the chat. For those who may be new here, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Definitely would appreciate that. And hit the thumbs up or like button if this was helpful to you. But yeah, what did you guys learn today? What was your biggest takeaway? Put it in the chat. Hey, thanks, Isaiah. I'm glad you were able to attend. Be patient. I hate it, but I've got to do it. Yeah, you definitely got to be patient in this trading business because that's really all you have to do. Once you before you get into the trade, you have to wait for your setup. Once you get into a trade, then you have to wait even more. Trading is all about waiting. And then you press a button, then you wait some more. Cool. Definitely glad terminology was good for you, Corey. Let me actually, I'll DM you the link that I made. I made like a collection of books here. And yeah, whenever you want to talk about me being your mentor, all that good stuff, let me know. We'll chop it up. I'm going to send you a link for anybody else that may be watching this that may want a mentor as well. If you click on the description of this video, there's going to be something that says book a free discovery call, which I actually have to switch to discovery consultation or a free consultation. We'll talk for 30 minutes, see where you're at, see how I can help you, and see if we're a good fit for each other to work with each other. Thanks for coming out, Jay. Cool. Well, I will see you guys for the next one. Enjoy your night and have a fantastic week. Later, y'all. Also, pray for my W trade to pan out in full. This thing is taking forever. See you guys tomorrow.